Did you ever work a job on the side of doing music?
No.
Really?
So I was 24. We're rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Okay, good.
Yeah, rolling.
Yeah, so I was 24 when I went to Full Sail. And I think I got out of high school and went to community college and just kind of struggled to find my way. Actually,
Yep.
I broke my ankle or really bad, like 3 days before I graduated high school, and wasn't able to like work at all that summer. So I was kind of stuck, like just playing guitar all summer, and that's kind of when it started. And I would play gigs and things like that, but I just never found my way. And then I ended up going to Full Sail when I was 24. So at the time, it was only a 12-month program. I got down there and then came up here 2 weeks after I finished and just kind of did. I mean, I did work at like Guitar Center.
Okay. That counts.
And there was a place called, I assume they're still in business, called Crew One. It was my first like paycheck of any kind in the music business where you get hired to go and like break down trucks. So, hey man, at the time I remember Monday Night Raw is going to be at Bridgestone Arena. So you like show up at 7 a.m. All their trucks are there, and you just unload cases, and then there's a lot of standing around, and then like you got to come back when the show's over and pack up the trucks. It was pretty rough. I didn't do that too long, but I was just like sporadic and
burning calories.
Yeah, and the
protein
Guitar
shakes.
Center stuff. So it was always like there was an effort to try to stay in it because I didn't really know what I was doing. You know, when I went to school, I was like totally lost. I was just playing guitar and I mean I knew some theory, you know, the basic stuff, but in terms of like computers and the stuff we're going to be talking about today, like I didn't know anything about that. So once I got up here, it was pretty much full on. It just did enough like Guitar Center, and then like once I got hired at a studio, I quit my job at Guitar Center for $150 a week at the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was track
Big bucks.
Probably weren't making much more at Guitar Center.
Yeah. Well, I was.
I guess that was
making more at Guitar Center, but like the thing, I mean, there's session work too, you know. So like, if you would do assist a session, you get extra money. Yeah. But that was just that crack in the window that you needed to get going. You know? And so I was gonna take it and bet on myself in that business. Yeah.
What were the weeks like at the studio? Like what?
Well, it's funny, man. I could have
copies?
picked the worst time to start in the music industry because it was summer of 2008. You know, when the housing market crashed.
No one's spending money on records.
That first summer.
That's when you should though.
I got up here in 2007, and then I started in interning like January, February 2008. That first summer, I think we had 3 sessions the whole summer. I mean, at this huge, it was bad. And I mean, the staff there wasn't super equipped at the time. And, you know, frankly, it wasn't maybe managed as good as it could have been. And, you know, so I remember a guy, his name's, I've actually worked for him, and I'll think of his name as soon as we stop rolling. But he produced Kansas, Carry On My Wayward Son, and Dust in the Wind, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he came to speak at Full Sail, and actually ended up randomly calling me like 3 years ago to mix something for him. And I told him the story. But anyway, he said, like, when you go into an internship, I asked the question, what do you do? He's like, you just make yourself irreplaceable. Like, hey man, who's gonna change the coffee or change the trash? Well, Zach used to do that. He's gone now. But it's the psychology. You do so much that
you want them to miss
they have to hire you.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I tricked them.
Yeah.
You know, I played a lot of my games and worked my butt off.
Yeah.
How many people would be on a session? Like if there's only 3 in a summer, did they just bring everybody in?
No, there was just no sessions happening. Nobody had any money, man. Everybody was broke.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, the whole market, it was almost a full-on depression during that time. You know, I mean, people lost their 401ks. It was really, really bad.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, people sure weren't making music, and that's kind of coupled with Napster, like that led into streaming, pirate, LimeWire at the time I think was going on, but people certainly weren't buying records like they were in the 90s. So the money wasn't there, budgets were getting slashed all over the place, and it still really is never recovered like it was 30 years ago. So but it would just depend. I mean, because the room I worked in was 7,000 square foot, so it was equipped to do we did 40-some piece orchestras.
Yeah.
Cool. All the way at your standard Nashville tracking sessions, things like that.
Very cool.
I can kind of relate to just kind of seeing a glimpse of that type of thing on a smaller scale because of COVID. When I got out of Blackbird, I started in July of 2020.
Good timing.
Great timing, right?
Yeah.
Nobody was hiring for internships because they were like, I don't know what's going to happen. And then I did get an internship at the studio that I worked at in Boulder, but it was interesting because it was like just starting. This was like summer 21, so just starting to bounce back a little bit, and people were coming in. But the owner of the studio was telling me how dark it got, right when COVID first happened. Because like I've talked to other guys that are more established, and they killed it during COVID because the artists they were working with were already making money, and so they were like, oh, perfect time to just work on the next record. And so there were some guys that were, one guy in particular I got coffee with when I first moved here, told me he was working like 18-hour days. He just took every job he could get because he didn't know what was going to happen. He's like, I'm going to stockpile money. But then everybody else that was like not plugged into the industry, it's like,
I mean,
I don't know how it was for you during that time.
During COVID, I mean, I think I had enough work. There was like some random thing. Like I had a guy from, I want to say Switzerland, just find me and had me mix like 15 songs, like when it was first going down. That's a totally like God or divine thing, whatever you want to call it. It was just like, wow. And my wife has been staying at home with the kids since we had our second kid, which was after this, but at the time she was working at a bank. So I think I managed to have like on the bad, like on a low end of my average, what it had been. But then after 2021, I've come back roaring pretty heavy ever since.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, that was an interesting time. I am thankful for that time. I got to spend so much time with my daughter where like just everything slowed down, and I think it was good for us as a human, like a species, if you will, to just kind of stop and smell the roses. Of course, we've, here comes the season, it's election year, so we're right back to it now, unfortunately. But we won't get into that.
That's all we'll do that before the drum recording.
Tensions rampant
during that episode. But COVID, it changed a lot of things, obviously. But one thing I did want to ask you, because you moved here in 2007, it must have been a completely different time back then, even in Nashville. Even if COVID didn't happen, what are some of the changes that you've seen in Nashville in the producing scene, and where do you think it's gone? And even with even things like AI and whole conversation.
So just in the scene, not the town specifically, like because I mean we could talk about how developed the town is, but like it is the trends and production. I think a lot when I first got here, because the studio, the tracking room that I broke in at, by and large, it was a country music studio. I mean, Come On Over, biggest selling country record ever, Shania Twain was done there. So it was a real slick, polished sounding room, and I think, so because of that, we did a lot of country music. Once we got past that first summer with 3 sessions,
there wasn't much music at all. First.
We were just trying to find a wall to paint or something. You know what I mean?
Change the trash bag for the 7th time that day.
Hey, you want a cup of coffee?
Someone threw away one coffee cup. We gotta throw it away. Got something to do.
I tried to find a leak or something. Anyway, I think because of that, so there was a lot of, at the time, country producers that were, maybe from the 90s or 2000s. And I saw the producers at that time that I saw, for the most part, not saying any names or not, were a lot more hands off. If I can, they would come in, they would hire a band, group of session guys, like I would, but they hire what's called a leader, and the leader would chart the songs and arrange the songs as opposed to the producer, which I think is pretty common. I always kind of serve that role when I produce. I prefer to kind of break down the songs, arrange them, all those kind of things. So I think, to answer your question, it's gotten a lot more hands-on with the production, especially as track guys kind of started to come into play. I don't know, around whenever Florida Georgia line, and maybe even a little bit before that. There's guys. I don't know though. I mean, like, I don't really consider track guys producers as much as some people do. Some people do, but I think a producer, you have to produce a product, a song, and I think you have to look at the song of like, okay, what cool parts can I put on the song? It's not as much about that, like a track guy would, as like breaking down every single word, every single line, making sure everything has a purpose and a meaning.
Finding the emotion in
it. Because that's what we do. I mean, I say this every single time I do one of these things, and probably every session. We sell emotion. That's all we do. I said it in the one podcast. You take, what is the song? What are we trying to convey here? And you try to bottle that up and push that forward. And I'm a firm believer in making sure the song stands up on its own, with a guitar and a vocal, with a piano and a vocal, and then in not like tricking anybody into thinking it's a good song with some slick production, you know what I mean? Because that can happen, So anyway, does that kind of answer your question?
Well, I mean, because part of the reason why I asked the question is because I'm so fascinated with all the new things that are coming in. Like, we did a podcast just on AI tools, so in some ways, I'm just doing production backwards because I love the new bells and whistles and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm also just like, I'm fascinated where things are going, because home studios. Everybody has a home studio now. And like, so there is a shift between, the big daunting studios to home studios.
Well, I mean, and that's been going on.
Whatever that means. Yeah, it's always been happening.
I mean, since I've been in the business 17 years, I mean, that was when it really started, that conversation. But continue.
I just wonder what like it means, and like, it seems like maybe there's less of a crew. It's just one producer working on a song now. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Like, the role of what is the changing role of like the big format studio and the classic session band maybe versus how a lot of people are doing it now, and how that's shifted over time. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah.
I think it's genre based too, and it's song based.
Yeah.
And it's funny you brought that up, because I mean, and doing this and like figuring out what song I want to like put on display, I was just kind of went on the rabbit hole a little bit on the way over here, just listening to other songs that I've done. And like, to me, and maybe it's just my production style, the stuff that when I'm the guy playing everything, it doesn't have that extra thing that a room full of session guys here has.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though they're similar genres, it's just, my parts are good and there's no mistakes. I've made it, but it's the collective energy, in the room that gets on the record. And so I'm always a fan of mixing it up. And like, when I'm casting a record, like, meaning I want this bass player for this singer. I want this, and because I really think a long time about that. I've got a lot of really, really, really talented friends that play a lot of great instruments, a lot of great parts. So I try to make sure that I'm getting the right people on the record, not just from an execution standpoint, but they have the right heart and the right hang, and there's no egos and things like that. And I think when you create that environment, you can't help but make good music. You know what I mean?
Great. Yeah.
And it's like, so that's just, I don't know. I'm a little bit old school in that front. And two, I mean, you talk about home studios. I just started renting a place to get out of the house.
Yeah.
To go and mix. I mean, I have a mix room at home, 220 square foot. But I also have 2 kids at home. And, I just want to get out of the house. I've been mixing it from home for 10 years. So I've started renting a spot. So great. I think, and, when I'm there, I'm just so much more productive just because I don't have
the separation.
It's crazy, man. Yeah. And so I don't know. I think where it's going, we'll see. I think the AI is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole type of thing for sure.
Yeah. Well, do we want to jump into the song you've brought us today?
Sure.
Hey, everybody. We're interrupting the podcast because we want to show you kind of what's really going on here at Garden Groove. This is a place where people can come in, record podcasts like we're doing now, but we can also record full bands in here. We've also had some people record just drum content or just drum tracks. So there's all sorts of options here, and that's kind of where Jackson comes in.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Jackson Maddox. I am the head audio engineer here at Garden Groove. So we have a lot of great gear now that we are really, really excited to share. The sound in the room is awesome. We've been recording bands in here. We've had people come in and do drum cover videos. And the way that this studio is laid out is so that you can come in here and feel like you can do whatever you can imagine in here. So we would love for you to bring in your next project, whatever that may be, and we would love to just be a part of that and help you out.
And if you also just want to hang out, we're doing monthly master classes. That's every last Monday of the month. So every month we're going to feature a new artist and entrepreneur in Nashville, diving into different Ableton things, diving into different photography and all sorts of different stuff. So you can check that out on all of our socials, and it'd be good to meet you all. And have a good day. And
signing off. That was good.
All right.
I'll give this to you and
sure. You want me to drive?
Yeah, you play from where you want to play. For you okay. Ask me what you want to,
Sure. So we've got this song Shotgun by Mackenzie O'Brien that Zach produced. I guess first let's talk about the writing of the song. You said you wrote it with her. Mm-hmm. So give us a little bit of insight on, what was the thought process behind the writing, and then how did that translate into how you wanted to produce?
So a guy by the name, music manager by the name of Johnny Joinell, he owns Daredevil Production. Okay. We've done a lot of business together over the years. He reached out. I've got this girl, Mackenzie. You want to write with her? Sure. And so the day before the session, I said, I don't know anything about her. She's a brand new artist. What's she like? What are you trying to accomplish? Because I know they're writing for an EP. What is her, MO? Mm-hmm. And he says to me, man, she's just been kind of just put in the back seat her whole life. She's never really been put forward. So I'm just trying to she really wants to have a voice. I was like, got it. I'm riding shotgun. There it is. So I knew I had a badass hook, and I played it down, but I was like, yeah, I got the. What do you think? What do you think about this idea? But the thing about it is I was told she's like an Americana artist, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking it was going to be like a, Brandy Clark kind of acoustic-y, folky kind of vibe or something,
Yeah.
And then, but so when she gets to my studio, we're cutting it up, and I was like, yeah, what are you into? What do you? And she like plays me these songs, because I'm just a firm believer in, like, if an artist is really, really like digging like the feel or the song, they're gonna sing it, they're gonna perform it with that much more conviction. It's absolutely paramount. So I'm listening, and like, she's playing me these tracks. I can't remember what they were, but I had like the genesis of this track. You know, the the loop and a few programming. I did that with Arcade. Are y'all familiar with Arcade? It's output. Yeah. So it's kind of an AI based sampler engine. It's really, really powerful tool. It's a good song starter. You know.
Arcade. Yeah, I've seen the ads for it.
It's like a subscription thing. You like pay $9 or $10 a month, and they just constantly update it. And they'll have like, I want to say it's like 2 octaves, and every white key is a different loop, and they all go together. Oh, like cool. So this will be the kick drum pattern, and it might have a few like little ghosty things. This is the snare. That's cool. This is the hi-hat, and it'll go on. So anyway, I just messed around one night, and I had this, and I was like, well, I've got this track, you know, and I played. She's like, that's super cool. And then I like the idea of Shotgun, like it, you know, I was like, does this idea work for you? Like, he told me about, you know, your MO, where you're kind of wanting to have more of a voice. That's perfect. And then it just kind of wrote itself like pretty quickly. You know, so like, riding shotgun ain't gonna put me in the back. I'm riding shotgun as I watch our love fade to black, you know, like, so yeah.
That's awesome. So when you were making that initial track that became the basis for this, was that you just messing around for fun one day, like nothing in mind really? You were just kind of playing around with Arcade?
I think so. I think That's at the time, like, I had a brief like window where you know, I might have had a day or two, not even a day, or a couple hours, and I just like pulled it up to mess around. I don't get to do that very often anymore. But I had like a few like little things, but I knew when I made this, I was like, that feels really cool. So I had it. It was kind of,
you knew it was going to be something.
It might have been 6 months before we even wrote the song or something, but I remembered it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it stuck with you.
Yeah, so,
well, let's start diving in then. I'm going to start here towards the end of the verse.
Okay.
Going into the chorus where things get really big, and then I'll start highlighting some things that I found interesting.
Too much life thrown in the backseat. Where has it been, the poison that have knocked me off my feet? I'm riding shotgun. It ain't gonna put me in the back. I'm riding shotgun as I watch our love fade to black. Yesterday I would have turned and run. Now I'm riding shotgun.
And to be fair, the stems, the kick, if you listen to the mix, the kick is thumping way harder. Than on the because I've got a sidechain thing going on.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you like play just the mix, it's hitting a lot harder, but I couldn't do the stems with the sidechain, you know, and isolate. So anyway.
Well, actually, that's a good place to start, because I thought this was super cool. In the chorus here, you've got this kick, but then there's a drum kit with the live kick mostly not in there. You can still hear it.
You can hear it if you listen to the kick. Like, so let's go to the kick bus. You can barely hear how, we'll just play the kick, how it comes in. And he was playing it. Here, it's got the extra click that wasn't there, you know, before.
Right. So that's live.
Yeah, there's just a real small, and I mean, I think I just rolled off all the bottom because there's no bottom left. It really doesn't even need to be in that, but it just to give it that sense of, and you know, the hard thing about this track and this whole production was that there was so much good stuff. Like, I mean, the song probably was just about could have been released with the demo.
Yeah.
And then they came in and just put so much good stuff. So I just really had to pick through what was there. And so like, Dan Needham, the drummer, he was probably playing in the verse, but I just kind of liked all the synthetic stuff, at least in that first verse.
Yeah. So you just cut all that out and just kept the kick itself.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the drum kit stem, I mean, that's all the other drums.
Yeah.
There's a couple of samples you can hear, like on the first snare hit, I think I've got
that big reverb.
Yeah, we were talking about the tracking room. That. Yeah. So we were talking about the tracking room. They had this giant. Their first booth was called the Rock Room. It's this giant, like it's all stone, and I had I got a sample of it. So all my samples, by the way, are all my samples that I've gotten over. Everything you hear is just this kick, this snare, this clave on here.
The perk.
You know what I mean? Everything. It's all. It's mostly, unless there's like obvious, like there's an 808 crash. Well, obviously I didn't record that. So
yeah, I was hearing that.
Anything real drum wise, that's gonna be usually my samples. On there.
I'm a big fan of that. Like, even if you could go grab a sample, if you could just as easily like record it right there on the fly or something, like
it actually has to do with the song. Like it's actually organic with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, even going and grabbing if you have a snare drum and a microphone, going and recording your snare drum and then making it sound the way you want it to sound, instead of just scrolling through and grabbing snare hit 742 from the drum kit that you
was
downloaded.
Recorded in like Germany 12 years
Nothing
ago.
wrong with that at all. I just think I think it adds more personal touch.
Well, there's the extra effort that you're putting into your record never goes unrewarded. It always pays off, Yeah. So anyway.
And as far as session musicians go, who all did you, or how many people did you have?
Okay, so I had Dan Needham's on drums.
Okay.
Anton Nesbitt is playing bass, which he played real bass on the rest of them, but he's playing a Moog on this. That is a real Moog to get the bottom in, which we can isolate in a minute. Chris Condon's playing electric guitar. You mentioned his parts. Russ Paul is playing steel guitar, believe it or not. And then Darius Mines, guitarist, is playing a lot of the synth stuff along with all the programming I had going on. So
cool.
Yeah.
So that's was that five?
Yeah,
people
5 guys.
Where did y'all track?
We tried to the Amber Sound. Have you been over there?
No, I haven't.
It's just a small studio in Hermitage that I've tracked some records at, and I really dig it.
Nice.
It's cool. Yeah.
That's cool. Let's hear this Moog sound on the bass real quick.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a real...
Yeah. Really just holding down that low end.
Well, and, he is a funky bass player, and I didn't... He moved a lot in his performance, but it was just... With all this going on, I didn't need it, so I just had to find... a loop, and like ideally we could have opened up the filter maybe a touch on the choruses to make it bark a little more, but I mean it's ended up being kind of what it was, but it is a real Moog and it sounds great, It
sounds awesome. Yeah, so I'll just for the hell of it, we'll play these are the drums and just drums and bass. So
okay, without the side chaining, obviously.
Without the side chaining, yeah.
That clave.
Nice.
That's a real one.
Yeah, it's just
so he's doing like Dan, the live drummer's playing like a 16th thing.
Yeah.
And then the arcade hat is kind of more in this ear.
That's what I was hearing. Yeah.
It's doing like a really stiff kind of like hi-hat, which is
almost accenting with like the acoustic guitars.
I played the acoustics. I'm not sure, that if it was subconscious.
Yeah, they work together really well.
There's this main, I know what it's going with. It's this synth.
Yeah. That's
so good.
That's the basis of the song. Yeah, I had that and I was like, that's it. Yeah.
Was that from Arcade?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That reminded me. Do you remember the Tron movie that came out like
I never saw it, but I remember it. Yeah,
Daft Punk did the whole soundtrack for it. That sound, that's immediately what it made me think of. It was like nightclub, like neon lights. It kind of gave me that vibe. But then it's so cool because you've got like a steel guitar and acoustics, and then you've got this like thumping EDM kick almost.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really cool mix of these like different worlds coming together.
Yeah, I would have to say, I mean, even though I haven't listened to a lot of her stuff, but I mean, definitely, I think Billie Eilish probably, because it's got a little bit of that grunge rock factor with the dark pop vibe edgy, at the same time.
Yeah.
I love, you brought up the acoustic sound. I just love this acoustic sound that I've got on here. It's really unique. And if you, sorry. And that's where it stays. And so I'm actually like on the chorus, I actually go to a major 7 on the second chord, and nobody else is doing that. And it really creates a nice tension. Like if you go here,
when it's normally just a regular major.
Yes.
In the back, I'm riding shotgun.
Right there.
As I watch our love fade to black. Yesterday I would have turned and run. Now I'm riding shotgun.
See, and that goes back to like, does the song hold up with the guitar and the vocal?
Yeah.
And you can see it does. So
how do you EQ your acoustics?
So that particular thing, what I was going for in my head, I don't know. Do you know this? I don't know if you know the song, super famous Beatles song, Across the Universe?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. That kind of.
Yeah.
It's like so, and I mean, I cheated when I was bouncing these stems, because I don't remember what I do. You know? But it was 2 parts, panned, and then there was a chorus. They were both going to a chorus, and they were both going to like a micro shift. So 2 different things.
I was wondering because it didn't sound like there were. It sounded like there was more than 2, but I can tell that there's just 2. It almost gave it like the micro shift. Yeah. That's what is it? That's adding in additional harmonics, or
it's shifting the pitch, but it's shifting it just enough to just create a little tension. It's a little trick. I mean, so like if you ever listen to talking about the Beatles, if you ever listen, it's like, wow, their vocals sound great doubled. But they were doing automatic. Where they slow down the tape machine. Yeah. Do you know how? And where they would slow down the tape machine to double themselves, and then when they put it back in time, their voice would maybe be sped up all of a sudden. It stretches it out, so it would change the quality of it. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's not just a straight dead double that sounds lifeless. It's got some depth to it. Right. So that's one thing I will do if you take like Sound Toys.
Little Altar Boy?
Yes, and I might just take the formant and just, I think on her doubles on the chorus, I'm like dipping it down like -1.5, and then the other part's like -9. It just gives it a little bit of out of tune, but it's enough to just kind of create a little tension. It's cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Little Altar Boy is such a versatile plug-in too. Yeah. The distortion on it is really great if you want to add like some grit to a vocal. Yeah. Those are really great sounding. What acoustic were you playing, and what were you miking it with?
I was probably just playing my Taylor. I have a 94 510, and I was probably miking it with if I took the time to set it up, it was a 414. If not, it would have just been my SM7, like it's always up, or my
on the boom arm,
or a 57. Sometimes it's just about getting it down. Yep. Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I've had a lot of good results with 57 on acoustic. I use a 57 like in tandem still to this day with a hi-fi whatever condenser. So anyway, but it would have been that, and then I've got a 1073 and distressor that as well. Yeah. So it would have been going through all that.
The distressor, that's what setting are you using, or like how hard are you?
Usually it doesn't even with acoustic, I've got the X, so I always go not always. I like British mode a lot for acoustic.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever reason, it just does something. So it doesn't do a lot of the gain reduction, the squeezing, but it just colors the acoustic. Always has, and that's kind of, I guess, my best instrument is acoustic guitar. So that's why I got the X way back when.
Yeah.
When I was at that studio at the tracking room, like I heard it, I was like, man, I like what this is doing. So it would have either been that or I'll do 3-to-1 and just like input 5, attack 8, release 1.
Yeah. So not
6.
just touching it, just kissing it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked is because when I think of a distressor, like so much of the time when people are using distressors, they're using it to slam the shit out of something. You know, they're putting it on a snare drum and they're like putting it into like bomb factory mode or whatever it's called.
I think because it's got the people think of it sometimes as a distortion box, but it's pretty much. If it's not the most versatile compressor, it's got to be up there. I think it probably is the most. And they always work. I feel like you never
they just
go to a studio and there's the distressors are down. They're always working. They're always sound great. You know. So
yeah.
As a selfish question and a more basic question, I feel like with my acoustic guitars, they're always too bright. Mm-hmm. And Jackson was doing a masterclass last week, and you were breaking down your electric guitars, and in that specific instance, you were cutting anything above like 8K or something.
Oh, for those, yeah.
Yeah, for those specific. I don't know if you always do that.
I don't always do it, but sometimes, yeah.
How do I make my acoustics not so bright?
What kind of guitar are you playing?
It's actually my buddy Connor. What does he use?
I don't know what he uses, but he's
got a bright mic.
I can offer some context for the song you're talking about. Sure. It was it for More Room for No, it was for
It's Everything.
Yeah, so he had this acoustic track really well done, played super nicely, and it had this nice crisp thing to it, but it had that little ice picky thing. I think my solution was like you can keep
multi-band.
Multi-band compress it and pick out the things. But yeah, it was bright in like some good ways, but then there were other elements of the brightness that were like a little more in the harsh zone.
Yeah. How close is the mic to the guitar? Like
he's a pro. But he's probably going, I don't know, 8 inches or something away, maybe. Something like that.
I mean, there's so many variables. I mean, it all starts with the guitar and the player, and then the mic, and then the preamp.
Do you ever cut? Is that cheating? Is that sacrilegious to cut above?
I take high end and low end off of everything.
Okay. I'm more of a beginner to this stuff than the rest of y'all, so I'm still in the learning process.
Don't be scared. Just do it. Like I found my best work is when I get aggressive and do it.
Sure.
And instead of just being scared of messing up, you know what I mean? Like you'll know. If you're mixing something and you go aggressive and you take it out of the car, you'll know.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
there's too much of that.
I went a little far, but go for it, man. Yeah, okay. I think high shelves and I mean, what I do, I use the Pro Q3 Fab Filter. That's that's the one plugin I have to I love a lot of plugins, but that's my one.
Everyone should
buy
that
plugin.
one.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I have all my bands set. So when I pull the thing up, I've got a high pass, a low pass, a high shelf, a low shelf. I've got probably 5 points that are all set to a 48 dB slope, just because that's the one I like. Ready to go, and I just get to work.
Oh, that's
start carving it up. You know?
Yeah, are they all disengaged and then you just turn them on?
Well, they're engaged, but they're zeroed out.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So everything's right there, ready to go. I'm gonna use that. Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Working quicker.
And I just save it as like Pro Q default, and then I think there's a setting you can just say this is the one I want. Every time I load this plugin, I want it to be
default.
Yeah, I do that with my C4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to be Sean Everett when I mix, and he does an expander thing.
Oh yeah,
which
he
I
does
set as my default.
Yeah,
but that's my selfish question.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah,
back up, if you need to, and use use this.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Use this and high pass it. I mean, or use a 57, or use, just back off the mic. Get a ribbon. You know, there's a million ways.
Yeah.
You know,
I think he's using a ribbon. It's a white mic.
It's the Soyuz. It's a small diaphragm condenser.
Yeah.
He has that Soyuz. I don't know what the name is of it, but
okay.
It's a good one. Yeah. So electric guitars. This was the one I was very excited to talk about because, that's kind of my wheelhouse, and also there's something very unique happening here. So we've got a clean during the verse. And then that fuzz guitar comes in.
And that was edited that way. He was playing the whole time, but I did the call and the response with the funk guitars.
Yeah, because he's got the little...
Yeah.
And there's a steel in there, too.
Yeah.
So I think I'm hearing 4 things, but I could be hearing way more than that. 2 cleans, a fuzz, and a...
In the chorus, there's 4. There's the thing in the middle and the 2 cleans, and there's the steel guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be it. Yeah.
And did you have him do... You said you kind of picked and chose from different places. So did you have him just do a bunch of takes and then sort of layer them out?
I want to say... Well, he did like a first pass, a second pass, a third pass, you know, and sometimes we'll go beyond that, but I can't recall because like this thing, this thing right here.
You have like a
so obviously
super long
that delay is I put on after, but so he might have played that on the same pass as the fuzz one, but I ultimately dragged it down to another track.
Gotcha.
It's going to get a different treatment. So I can't remember. I feel like he just played 3 parts and I kind of took them, you know, and pieced them together.
So the fuzz, was that his idea that he did the fuzz sound, or did you add that in post?
That was the tone I got.
Okay, cool.
You know, but like, so if you listen to the whole thing without the guitars,
Shotgun, ain't gonna put me in the back. I'm riding shotgun as I watch our love.
so like, what else would he do? You know, it's
like full synth pop.
Yeah.
Without.
Ain't gonna put me.
You know, so I'm always a fan of Nile Rodgers. So like, I can't remember. I don't really remember guiding him too much on like as to what to play. I just remember everything that everybody played on this was great. You know, because I think the song, at least in my account, was pretty good, and like it was already there. Like the guesswork was kind of out of it. Usually, I will go in with a lot more raw demo, you know, and let the guys kind of find their way a little more with it. But it just happened that way. I just kind of was on a roll. I already had that. Yeah. And that was the song, you know. Yeah. And she loved the demo so much. If I would have deviated away from it too much, she wouldn't have liked it as much. Yeah. I know the psychology of artists, and I wouldn't have liked it as much either. But I think he did the fuzz. I don't know what fuzz he used. I'd have to ask him. And then he did those 2 parts, and Chris just has such a great tone. Always, he's a dear friend, and I just love his parts, man. He's really good for this kind of stuff. He killed
it. Yeah, those were so cool, and just gives a lot more movement to an already swirling, moving thing.
Sure,
which is cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did have a question as well about. So now we've let me just solo these things. We're sort of covering the melody section of the song. So we've got the main riff going here, the acoustics, and all the electrics. So there's maybe 8 different elements or 6 or 7 different elements happening here. When it comes to panning, I always find myself having to either get really OCD about it and I'm like, well, this has to be panned like this because it's panned like that on that side and I want it to be even. And then other times I'm kind of just like, I'm just going to do something random and just kind of let that be it. And like, how are you approaching that so that everything shines, but is also somewhat evenly balanced?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. And a song a production this dense, I mean, I think things are going to get lost. But yeah, I remember thinking with the fuzz guitar, I wish I had like 2 of these so that they could be left and right, but I only had one.
Yeah.
So my solution is to drench that one in verb to give it
some width.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what kind of verb I used, but I did. It was probably the Galaxy Spring, the UAD. Just take the delay off.
Yeah.
But
anyway, and it's right up the middle too.
Yeah,
it's not fighting the vocal.
Well, it has to be because it's so.
Yeah, it's just
it barks so much. If it was just on one side, it would throw the whole mix out of whack. So it's in the middle, and then the 2 funk kind of Nile Rodgers guitars are on each side. I don't recall how wide the acoustic was. This probably around 9 and 3 if I had to guess, and then
you put the fuzz in the middle of it. Okay.
So there's the acoustic.
Yeah, I remember seeing that the chorus and the pitch shifter thing that I had on the acoustic was like the returns were hard left and right, but I bet they were probably like 9 and 3 on the electric or on the acoustics, like I said. And, see, it's dead.
Yeah, so it's right up.
Yeah, but the vocals are never.
What's that?
Never clashing with the vocals. I'm always so scared of the center because of the vocals.
Yeah, same. That's why I'm asking about it, because like
just different.
Gonna put me in the back, I'm riding shotgun as I watch our love fade to black. Yesterday I would have turned and run, now I'm riding shotgun.
Yeah, everything's got a place.
It works.
Yeah,
I would have been too scared to.
And honestly, it's kind of, you mentioned, I don't even know if we were rolling yet, about, or maybe it was you, about the vocal staying lo-fi the whole time.
That was Jackson.
That is a little bit of a challenge in this track because everything's got a place, right? So nothing ever gets super bright, but I do think the synths kind of holds a lot of that there's some really, Darius played some insane synth parts. He had a real Jupiter, I don't know which one, but it like lots of cool parts. Maybe he's down here a little bit.
I know that main riff stem had some.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
And I did one on the.
Yeah, it was that. That's right.
With the glide, whatever that's called.
And that's too. So you hear the pan, like I did that. Yeah, that's all kinds of stuff.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Did you just let him let loose and?
Yeah, the thing about him is he will play it different every time. There's another song on the EP where we did like 5 takes to get the take with the band, and he was playing like a 80s pad like thing, and they were all different, a little bit different, and I ended up using like all 3 blended.
Oh, cool.
Because they were just in a different, and it just sounds huge. So yeah, he's a guy you're gonna have to go playlist diving because he just gives you so much great stuff. You just gotta find it.
Yeah,
the best friends in the world.
Yeah, just
people like
giving
that.
you all of this to work with.
Where there's this one thing he does in the end that's really, really insane. I don't have my markers here. Oh, is this thing, I think, right here. I hate coming and like losing when the preferences are different than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
This thing right here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So is that just That's that one part that you, or is that
he did that? Yeah, he did that. I can't remember if I don't think I did the pan automation on that. I think it was already in the file, but some of it I did on some of these things. And then I totally went Miami Vice here.
That's awesome.
Rototom, yeah, I love it.
Were those samples, or was that from the live kit?
Those were samples. Yeah, those were samples.
I was gonna say, I need to know what you did to make the live.
Yeah, but because he's playing,
awesome.
You know, and I just needed more epic. When
you know. Adds a little bit more like depth to it, and
lean into them 80s, brother.
Yeah,
let's get our neon pink glasses on, and neon green gym shorts, and
it's got like a it's like Miami Vice meets what is it, Cyberpunk 2077, like the Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
it's awesome. So that kind of covers all the synths and stuff. Let's talk vocals. I know that these are the demo vocals, which sometimes you just get it right at the demo and it's not worth.
You tell me to stay home, you're desperate for control. They're just picking and choosing my friends.
I just want to play it in context too, because of the lo-fi sound.
You tell me to stay home, you're desperate for control. They're just picking and choosing my friends. It's really getting
It really does allow
It's been way too
all
much.
this extra room on either end of the vocal in the frequency spectrum. And one thing that I thought was cool about it was that my first pass through, I didn't even really think about it being this like kind of lo-fi sound until I isolated it and I go, oh, wait a minute, there's all this high end being rolled off. Was that just a spur of the moment decision, or
yeah, probably. Like everything I do is intuition.
And then it worked.
And I have to give her a lot of credit here, because I think she really embraced, the song and what we were talking about in that moment, and she really delivered a performance. She embodied that character, and like really sang it with like some snap and some pizzazz, and like if you don't have that, I don't care how good I am or any engine, you've got to have performances to make records, So she really brought that, and I think it just seemed like a clear vocal, like that main riff thing is so grungy. I think a clear vocal just didn't. I didn't want to hear a pristine vocal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
personally,
that makes sense. Yeah, I think that is the common denominator of everybody that we've had come in here who's a producer, is that the mixing and the sound choices are always somewhat correlated to what the song's actually about, and not just you even mentioned it, I think, before we started rolling it, like that, it's not just, oh, this sounds cool. It's like that's not producing necessarily. It's more,
it's coming from something.
Right.
Yeah, it has to be. And I mean, and sometimes it's cool to do the most non-obvious thing, right?
Yeah.
So I was working with Keb a couple months back, and he had a song called Room on the Porch he's working on. And like he had a fiddle player come in, Janae Fleener, and you think Room on the Porch. And I can't play a song because it's not coming out till next year. But you would think, oh, down home, fiddle, right? Song.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to embody this character. You're we're all sitting here, we're on the front porch, we're hanging out, and you're the crazy cat lady that comes up who's got her little fiddle. And she comes in, and he had her embody this whole character, and he was like, you gonna play like more classical, more legato. And it worked so beautiful, and it was that contrast, which is really cool too. So, that's just his mind. He can conceive of that. A lot of people couldn't, but I think it was conceived of. It wasn't just like let's do it to do it. Like every single thing has to have a purpose. And like, if you think of it, if you're the guy that's building a track at home by yourself and you got all your plugins, you know, you have to get all the suck off your presets, you know, like if this sounds like, have you ever been building a track and like you get to that preset and you're like, man, if I could just make this thing not delay as much or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Those, if it's got that much suck on it, and then you add more things, and it's got 15% suck, all that cumulative suck adds up to a lot of suck, and then you know what I mean. So you got to like make sure every single thing, every single word, every single line, every single note of the melody, everything has to feel good to you in your heart, you know what I mean? And most importantly to the artist, and you have to serve their vision. Sometimes you have to help them find their vision because they're inexperienced, and sometimes you have to shut up and see, you know, help like speak when spoken to, and just serve that situation and just kind of wait, because sometimes people want to go at their pace, and you just have to respect that, you know?
Yeah. You just have to wait to see when it's the right time to interject or to add.
There's a real wisdom in that, in when to have the right intuition, when to chime in, because like sometimes people, I learned this, y'all learn if y'all get married one day, sometimes you just gotta shut up and just let it all flow, like, and not go into fixing the problem mode, you know, every time. Sometimes you know, they just want to let the problem be the problem for a minute, and you know, if you come in with a solution, it's going to distract them even more from where they need to get to. So you just got to be really good at reading the room. It's really important, you know.
This whole time I've been thinking about you just explaining how like you need the people in the room to be on this cohesive, I don't know, idea of like what the song should be like and the emotion that it should be capturing, and then you somehow channel that like through music. I think it's just such a cool way to actually approach music in itself. And then kind of as a side note, I was listening to a podcast earlier this week, and it was what you guys were saying. Like if you're gonna write a song, if you're gonna put something out there, if it's gonna have an impact, it can't be hollow. Like it has to be coming from something. We talk about this all the time, but we meet for some musicians, there's this like, they want to be holding on to some sort of pain because that's where they think their good music is coming from. So they think if I hold on to this, then all of my music in their mind isn't going to be hollow. It's that pain is going to be coming through with the music. And I think that's just such a fascinating way to go about it. So sometimes they're going to write a song and they're going to be thinking that, you know, it's the true pain that's coming through, when it's actually just the idea and it's not real. But if you have a really good song, you really actually have something to say. And I think what's cool is you and what you said is that like you can actually kind of conjure up those emotions in the room with all the musicians. And you can actually kind of create it and you can kind of mold it.
Oh, I do that all the time. And you can bring it out.
Like you're like a wizard in a room, and you're like,
well, I didn't say
that. Don't put words in your mouth.
Well, I think it's a certain level of consciousness, you know, honestly. I always loved psychology, even like when I took it my senior year in high school. It was just so fascinating, in like the study of the mind and how the mind works. And it really, I mean, we can geek out all you want on like EQs and how to mic stuff, but I would tell you the boring answer is like everything I do is psychology. You know, I immediately come into any situation. If I'm just the engineer tracking, I'm immediately taking, you know, inventory of how fast we're going, how many musicians, what needs to happen to get to the next step. And then if I'm in the production role, then I'm asking the artist, like, who are your inspirations? What songs do you like? What moves the needle for you? So I know how to, if they like this person, they're going to like those elements in their music or something along those lines. So I'm going to get these sorts of players who have this kind of energy. And then one thing, just in terms of being successful, managing all those people and like managing musicians who are great and like how to get something out of them. I try to find it, like I will have, for the most part, I'll try to have a roadmap. Like I'll arrange it and I'll say, here's a vibe reference, but I don't handcuff them. I'm not like singing the drum fills to the drummer. You know, if he plays a drum fill that I don't like, I'll just say, try it again. You know, like, or I don't like, I mean, I'm not going to say I've never like said note for note, play this. But if I do that, it's usually because it's just so stupid simple.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's what a lot of people like to hear. But usually I think that helps me like managing the musicians is like one thing I'll have one of the songs I will try to like. This song, for instance, this was the first song we cut on there. I will fade the outro so that they can vamp and just jam.
Yeah.
And just forget about I'm working, I'm in a session. No, I'm getting back to the garage.
Yeah.
And feeling good and doing remembering why the hell I'm doing this. Like, it's important for me to, so I'm like going there or taking them there.
Right.
And then they have that freedom and they feel more free. They feel more relaxed. You know, their vibe's good, their energy's good. And then they're just kind of stream of consciousness too.
Right.
And it's a really powerful thing. I don't know. That's just how I've done it. So
I just love that idea.
Yeah.
Like,
thank you.
You're going to play if you're in a good state, you're going to play well.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
If you're hungry,
yeah,
it's not going to be as good.
Yeah. Like, okay, well, we got done. We're getting 3 songs on this session. We got done, and we're got to get 3 more in the next session. It's 12:15. We're gonna cut it short. Hey, let's go to lunch an hour early.
Yeah,
and we'll come back a little early, and then we'll have more time. Let's regroup. You know, whatever. You just got. It's always tuning in to the channel, being aware of everything going on.
Yeah.
It's huge,
Yeah, and also starting at point A and knowing what point B is and how to get there.
Yeah.
Like in the podcast that I was listening to, you said you tracked 47 songs in one day.
It might have been 41.
Still,
it's a 40 number.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of point B in that kind of situation as opposed to we got 3 songs in the course of 8 hours.
Well, and I'm a different role. I'm there because I can make things sound really good, really fast, and I can punch really fast, and I'm there to engineer, and I'm there to just go. So like I'll go and I'll get markers or numbers every 2 bars, and then the musicians, to their credit, are just conscious of where they messed up, and they'll tell me, and I'll go there.
Well aware.
Yeah. I'll go there and we'll punch it and we'll move on.
Anytime we track drums, like, I made exactly 3.5 mistakes in there, and I can tell you exactly where. That's etched in your mind.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it, to get through that pile, is to just be so efficient, Otherwise, you can't be like, well, where's the chorus? And, you got to be on it. You already got to know the chord where it is. So
working harder and smarter.
Yeah.
So. Well, I think that covers most of the stems. I do want to play just real quick. I want to do the background vocals.
Oh yeah,
if there's anything interesting there that you would?
Yeah, maybe go to like that section because it's pretty minimal. Like I didn't have her do much. I think she's just doing 1 or 2 parts in the chorus and some really cool oohs though. It's Rachel Hambridge. I didn't mention her.
So somebody else on background.
Yes. Okay. Rachel Hambridge, who's one of Tom Hambridge's daughters, so a longtime collaborator of mine. So she's really, really sings beautiful.
Yesterday I would have turned and run. Now I'm riding shotgun.
Are you looping that? Or is
no, I told her to do that.
Okay, that's she's
cool.
Yeah.
Really like locked in.
Yeah,
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I kind of like,
but
that was one of those do it as you, and then you kind of conduct them.
Yeah,
for the time, do the dip. Here. So
yeah,
but yeah.
The high end on those is really cool.
Yeah.
It's the reverb working with that, which is...
Well, we did. I think that was a Telefunken 251, one of the newer ones. And, so I kept it all there because frankly, it needed it. It was a nice lift,
Yeah, for sure.
It panned out.
Yeah, and you get that high end in there, especially with the 251.
Yeah.
Just so great for that. Mm-hmm. What were you using on the lead vocal? Do you remember? SM57?
Just SM7.
SM7.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong. But that has it's almost like a train whistly, high end to it in a good way.
You know what I mean? What you're saying, yeah.
I don't remember. It sounds like I've got the dry tracks panned wider and the verb is panned in. It is what I'm hearing. That sounds like, if you hear it or the low part's certainly more narrow, Yeah, it sounds like I've got the low part more narrow and more wet. And then the high part is drier.
Wow.
Yeah, I hear it.
Hear that? Yeah.
That's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
And it's not like I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put
the
low part, and I will usually work my way out with the panning, but I do different stuff. But it's like, yeah, that feels good. Let's turn up the verb. It just whatever, it just happens. You just don't think. It's like, if you think, you're dead. Tom Cruise,
What? That's something I've...
Yeah, it's that Top Gun. Yeah.
You think you're dead.
Yeah.
You just react.
You can't think, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's something that I have, I'm always trying to learn and gain new things to bring into every new project. And that's been something that I've been finally, for the first time in however long I've been recording myself and other people, learning to just trust myself to just do the first thing that comes to mind.
You have to.
And don't think about it anymore.
You have to.
Just do it and then come back and revisit it when you have everything recorded and then decide how you want to surgically mess with it, if at all.
You have to. Chances are, if you don't have the answer right then, all you need is a good night's sleep, a day or two away from it, and then you come back. I mean, this is just my experience, you know. But when I think trusting your instincts, that's just really, really been paramount for me. And I think when you trust them, and especially when you're in that role of, okay, you're the leader in this situation. Ultimately, the artist came to you, you're in charge. They're paying a lot of money to get all this. It's a lot to put together. So when you have that gut feeling that something's a certain way, I think really trusting it. But also, if you have an idea and it's maybe not so good, quickly admitting that this idea is not good. Yeah. Like I've said, I will happily make myself look like an idiot to lighten up the room. Throw that one-liner in at the right time. Yeah. It's like, oh, that idea sucked. Sorry. And they love you for it because you're human. Yeah. You're accountable. Yeah. Oh, he messes up too. You're just one of the guys. I mean, that's what I try to be. So anyway.
Yeah. Lightens up. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Making a good vibe for the room.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for breaking that down for us.
Yeah, man.
Super cool track. Mackenzie O'Brien, Shotgun. And what was the name of the EP?
I don't know if she's released it. I
think it was a single.
I think it was supposed to be all on one anyway. If y'all can link in bio, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely, we will.
Yeah, man.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it's a single. Yeah. G-Wagon.
Well, no, that
Shotgun. Was the other one, Shotgun.
Yeah. She was
Shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, link in bio, and
yeah.
All your stuff is good.
Well, thanks, man.
I don't think we did a proper introduction. But
do you want
to the podcast?
Yeah. Would y'all want to go back and do anything in case you need some fillers, or just keep talking in case we get any good stuff? Like, or
we can just do like a quick. I'll do like a little.
I think we got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I think we got everything we need for sure. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything you want to plug or like anything cool you got coming up that you're excited about? Or
well, I am excited because, like I've mentioned a couple times, I've started at a room in Berry Hill. It's called Pentaveret. A colleague of mine, Bobby Holland, who I've just really admired for a long time, has just put together this studio. And I mean, it is just, it's crazy how much when we had breakfast, I wanted to kind of finally sit down. We've known of each other for years and just hang out. We hung out in March and just really hit it off. And I mean, it's the walls are decorated how I would decorate. It's honestly like it's mine. It's his, but it's mine. So just having that outlet and being there and having a place on the new Music Row in Berry Hill, you know. So I'm just really excited to be there. So come by there and track something with me sometime, or let's make some music.
Do you have a preferred way for people to reach out? Your website?
My website's where I get a lot of people, and that's just ZachAllenAudio.com.
It's a great site.
And that's with Zach with an H, or my Instagram at ZachAllenAudio. Or you can email me, ZachAllenAudio@gmail.com. Somebody already had Zach Allen,
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anyway.
TikTok?
Well, there's I think there's another writer in town. Well, I know there is, and then there's actually Buddy Allen Carpet and like his son. So he'll come on the radio. Hey, Zach Allen here, and I said, "No, what are you doing, dude?
There's only room in town for one of us, brother. There's only
one Zach Allen here." Yeah. So
competing against the other Zach Allens.
Yeah, cut a promo on him or something.
One has more Grammys, though.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's that.
There is
one has done more plumbing jobs. So.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be me. Yeah.
Everyone's got their credentials.
Yeah, indeed. Nothing wrong with plumbers.
That's right.
Hell yeah.